and a big warm welcome to all of you to the very first Made to Play Coaching Girls Guide workshop, which is co-organised by TAFISA and Nike Made to Play, and in partnership with the Saudi Sports for All Federation. This is an extremely exciting workshop, as not only is this the kickoff workshop of a global series, but we have modified the workshop in order to celebrate World Hijab Day, which was on the 1st of February. So what does this mean? Well, today you'll be introduced to not only the Made to Play Coaching Girls Guide, but also the Made to Play Hijab Product Playbook. So it's now time to officially start. But before we go any further, I would like to advise you that this workshop is recorded. So please turn off your camera if you do not wish to appear on screen. All of your microphones have been muted by default, and we will unmute. We will allow you to unmute yourself once we open up for the open floor components of today's session. This is just to ensure a smooth running of the workshop. But we do encourage you to intervene with a comment or question throughout the workshop today. So please raise your hand or write in the chat, and we will give you the floor during the open floor components. Finally, we ask that everyone changes your Zoom name to your first name, surname, and organization so that we know who is present here today. So I think that's enough housekeeping for now, and it's time to officially kick off. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce TAFISA Vice President for the Americas, Ms. Catherine Ford, who is joining us all the way from Trinidad and Tobago. And Catherine's going to give a few words of welcome on behalf of the TAFISA Board of Directors. So Catherine, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Kerry. And from my part of the world, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and whatever else is possible. But today it is my pleasure to welcome you to this great moment as we launch the inaugural workshop of the Made to Play Coaching Girls Guide Global Workshop Series. The workshop series is a co-creation of TAFISA and Nike Made to Play, and has a mission to provide the global sport for all movement with additional tools and resources to help recruit and retain girls in sport. Over the next 6 months, several workshops will be held in various locations around the globe, which will invite members of the global sport for all movement to discover, and in some cases rediscover, the Made to Play Coaching Girls Guide and support them in utilizing and disseminating the guide in their own setting and language as appropriate. The workshop series is part of TAFISA's wider strategy to increase and enhance opportunities for girls and women to undertake sport and physical activity, as well as highlight the necessity of equal representation at all levels. TAFISA, through Mission 2030, which is our answer to the Sustainable Development Goals, strives for a safe, equal future for all girls and women, free from inequities, free from violence, free from abuse and discrimination. In order to reach out to different networks and multiply the impact, each workshop will not only be held in different regions of the world, for example, Saudi Arabia, Fiji, the Caribbean, Botswana, and Slovenia, but will also be in collaboration with a selected on-the-ground partner that shares the same values as TAFISA and Made to Play regarding closing the gender gap and making sport more accessible for girls and women. It is our great honor today to team up with TAFISA's member and partner, the Saudi Sports for All Federation. TAFISA has been working closely with the Saudi Sports for All Federation for the past several years. And in a short period of time, they have signaled their strength and commitment in playing a leadership role in the global Sport for All movement. I wish to extend my thanks on behalf of the TAFISA board to Shaima Alhusseini, Managing Director, who is joining us here today for our ongoing partnership. TAFISA is honored to be joined by special guests representing the importance of collaborations and partnership work to achieve our collective goals. We're going to hear today from the experiences of two leading experts, Viv Holt and Huda Lukili. I would like to thank Viv and Huda on behalf of the TAFISA Board of Directors for their attendance today, and I look forward to listening to their interventions. I would also like to extend a special thanks to Nike for their ongoing support to TAFISA since 2013, and to highlight the tremendous work that they have been doing, acting as an opinion leader and change maker, contributing to move the lines worldwide for girls and women's participation and opportunities. In particular, I would like to thank Mariette, Brett Howell, and Elena Koff for their ongoing partnership and support, and for making this workshop series a reality. Finally, I would like to thank all of the participants who have joined us today, as we believe together we are stronger in our quest for a better world through Sport for All. It would be remiss of me to end without thanking the TAFISA team who have also contributed to continuing the work that TAFISA needs to do. Thank you so much and good day. Enjoy.
Thank you so much, Catherine, for those really warm and inspiring welcome words. Always a pleasure to have you with us. It's now my honor to introduce to you Ms. Shaima Alhusseini, Managing Director of the Saudi Sports for All Federation, who will give a few words of welcome on behalf of the Federation. So Shaima, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Catherine, for the kind words. And thank you, Kerry. It's an honor for us to be partners with TAFISA. We are very excited and privileged to be part of this workshop. I think we have inspiring ladies that will represent the Saudi female society that we are very proud of. And I'd just like to introduce myself. I am the Managing Director and CEO of the Saudi Sports for All Federation. And we're very proud to speak in the state of play of female mass participation in the kingdom. And we are proud to talk about how the Saudi Sports for All Federation leverage all our data and insight programs and events towards closing the gap among females, specifically in the youth and the young adults specifically. And we actually, in the Saudi population, females make 50% of the Saudi population. And we need to focus, we are very diverse and inclusive. We focus on the full population, but we are more keen on giving this segment the right opportunities, the accessibility, the awareness, and providing them with the necessary options for them to be, to give active roles in the society and to maintain a healthy level and a lifestyle level, and not only because they make a big part of our segment and they're a key element of our segment, but also these ladies are the role models for the next generation. And that's why we are very keen on developing the right policies, the right opportunities, and implementing everything in a very diverse and inclusive way to make them part of this big movement in Saudi. And I really I am looking forward for this workshop and getting everyone's thoughts and perspective on the Saudi Sports for All and the Saudi and the sports movement in Saudi specifically. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to you, Shaima, and I'm really looking forward to hearing the intervention coming from the Saudi SFA later this morning or this afternoon. And of course, thank you to yourself and the Federation for working in partnership with TAFISA on this workshop. So to introduce myself, my name is Kerry Mcdonald, Business Development and Fundraising Manager for TAFISA, and I will be moderating the workshop today. The objectives of this workshop are to empower girls and women through the training and educating of coaches, sport leaders and managers, to improve the quality of sport coaching offered to girls and women, and to encourage girls and women to train as sport coaches, and to increase the number of girls who are physically active, the number of women who are trained coaches, and the number of women leaders across the global Sport for All movement. In order for us to achieve these objectives, you're going to be introduced to two excellent resources, which will be presented by global leading experts who have fantastic insight, experience, and knowledge to share on how to engage girls and women across the sport movement. But before that, we're going to hear from Shaima, who will report on the state of play in Saudi Arabia. And then we will have an interactive roundtable so that we can learn from your own experiences. Before we go any further, I would like to find out more about who's joining us today. So please use the chat function. Let us know where you are located, what is your role in Sport for All, and what do you hope to take away from the workshop today? And we really encourage you to be using the chat function and to be raising your hand throughout the entire workshop, because we really want to learn from you and about your experiences. So don't be shy, the chat function is there, and we're looking forward to hearing from you further in the workshop today. So I'm going to pass the floor back to Shaima for her intervention on the state of play in Saudi Arabia. A little bit about Shaima. She was appointed as the Managing Director of the Saudi Sports for All Federation in February 2019. Before that, she served as Director of the Educational Institutions Department in the Federation since early 2017. Shaima coordinated work between several government agencies and designed the sports participation strategies in schools and universities. Her previous experience included managing the Social Responsibility Department at the Institute of the Public Administration in Riyadh. During her time there, she created a new department, ran the corporate and private sector social responsibility, and trained more than 8,000 employees to enhance their skills. An advocate for women's empowerment in sports, Shaima has participated in several thought leadership panels and conferences that highlight the importance of creating inclusive programs that enable all sectors of society to participate in sports. In addition to her role at the Saudi Sports for All Federation, Shaima is officially appointed as Vice Chairperson of the Arab Sports for All Federation and serves as a board member in the Saudi Arabian Olympic Academy that was established recently in 2021, as well as board member of the Saudi Golf Federation. Shaima holds a master's degree in education from Boston University in the United States and a bachelor's degree in English literature and linguistics from King Saud University in Saudi Arabia. So Shaima, it's my great pleasure to pass back over to you, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Kerry, and thank you everyone who's attending this workshop today. So we're just going to give you a brief about the Saudi Sports for All Federation, how we're planning to close the gap, some of our programs and initiatives, and some of our achievements and our inspirations to move forward. So we'll start with the Saudi Federation mission and vision. So we can move to the next slide, please. Okay, so our vision is to create a healthier, happier society through physical activity. We know that we are at the grassroots level and we're creating more athletes, but our main goal is not to create athletes in the kingdom. We actually focus on having a healthier, happier society because we really do believe that physical activity is a way of life. And if you're healthier and happier, you would be a great role model for the next generation. As for our mission, we focus on building a very vibrant community by inspiring all the society to be physically active. So when we say all the society, we're very diverse and inclusive. So all our programs are tailored for the females, males, seniors, youth, physically disabled, Saudis, non-Saudis. And we deliver this by creating inclusive recreational and sustainable programs. So we focus that all our programs are impactful and sustainable, and we shed away from one-off wonders. Our values is that we focus that we inspire the community, that everything we do is very diverse. So we do focus on closing the gap, but at the same time, we focus on giving equal opportunities to all segments of society. And most importantly, we focus on empowering the community and allowing the community themselves to lead this movement through this. And this is what we'll see from the girls that are in the roundtable after this. So if we look at the sports pyramid in Saudi Arabia, the SFA stands at the bottom of the pyramid, and that's where we feed into the amateur and the performance and the elite. So SFA is responsible for one of Vision 2030's main pillars, which is increasing physical activity and participation in the kingdom from 13% to 40% by 2030. And we were working to achieve that goal in the next coming years. So we have just created a 5-year strategy in collaboration with most of our partners, such as TAFISA and the WHO. And we really believe that we do focus on the full society, but in order for us to get the society physically active, we need to tailor programs to specific age groups. So we created a new strategy dividing the population into 4 age segments. So we do the youth, which is under 18, the young adults, and the older adults. But in each of these segments, we focus on both genders equally. And to support our strategy, we have key pillars that help us to achieve our desired outcomes. So we build our strategy based on programs. So we do multiple programs for different segments in the society, different age groups, and different genders. So for example, we try to be very inclusive. So for example, we just had a Spartan race 2 weekends ago. So it's very inclusive in terms of the waves have females and males, but at the same time, we're very considerate of the society. So we had a final wave that's for females only, for those who prefer to be segmented through this physical activity. Also, we focus on activating places. So one of our main pain points in Saudi is there's not enough places where people can be physically active. So what we do is we take public places such as parks, malls, because of the weather in Saudi and the difficulty of being physically active during the summer, and creating physically different tracks for people to be physically active, barcodes to keep track of their steps and their physical activity rates, and to track them throughout a month, create different challenges for them, and so on. Next, we focus on people. So like this workshop, we focus on creating coaches and role models within the society where they can drive the physical activity participation in the kingdom. And finally, policy. So there's a lot of things that need to come top bottom. So we focus on a lot of policies and a lot of changes in these policies, such as, for example, making the female gym licensing a one-stop shop, where we make it easier for females to open up more gyms and more facilities and more places for the females to be physically active. And for these pillars, we have enablers. So we focus on also raising the awareness to make people physically active through our different campaigns. And I would say one of our most successful campaigns was a campaign that we did during the COVID-19 pandemic, where we showed people that they don't need specific places or equipment to be physically active. They can actually be physically active at their homes during the lockdown. And next, we have the digital platform and research. We focus a lot on data and insight, and all our programs are tailored and designed around the data and insight that we have, because we want to see what the community want, what are the pain points, what are their inspirations, how can we make them more physically active. And we're proud to say that even though we just launched our digital application around less than a year ago, we have more than 100,000 users in our application, and they are our constant feedback. So we know and we hear a lot from them, and they help us design our programs moving forward by giving us a lot of feedback and being our partners in designing and implementing the programs. And then next we have partnerships, like our partnership with TAFISA, which we learn a lot from. We also have a partnership with multiple global entities, such as the WHO, and some private entities like Nike and PepsiCo are also some of our partners. And finally, safeguarding. If you want to get the females physically active or the kids physically active, there has to be clear safeguarding that ensures that we have the correct measurements to protect the youth and females in all our programs and all opportunities for them to be physically active. Next, we are proud to say that in the last 5 years, the female participation in Saudi Arabia increased 170%. And we see that visible. So if you came to Saudi 3 years ago, you wouldn't have seen females running in the street or cycling. Now we have the training programs for the marathon, which we'll be hosting in March. And in each training program, we have
I'm sorry, Shaima, I think you've been muted somehow.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. So if you look at the slide here, you can see there are main drivers that increase the participation in the last couple of years. So for example, in 2017, we focused a lot on raising awareness, on doing campaigns, and basically showing people the impact of health and well-being and the prevention it causes for multiple diseases. And that increased participation massively. In 2018, we introduced the PE classes in girls' school. Again, this is a change policy. And this increased participation massively. In 2019, we introduced the female gym licensing, which I mentioned before. We made it a one-stop shop where we made it very easy to create license to open up female gyms and lowering the restrictions. So instead of having X amount of parking slots, instead of having, for example, X amount of space, you can just open a yoga studio in a flat building where you can just have one room where you can have Pilates or yogas. You can do outdoor yoga classes or cycling classes, for example, in any of our public spaces. And this helped increase participation massively because we simplified everything and made it easy for people to be physically active in Saudi. So through our data collection and analysis, we have some primary insight that we would like to share in this workshop. So for example, we divided it into 4 segments. So what are the barriers and obstacles in terms of participation, triggers, barriers, and physical activity? So if we look at the participation, 30% of females who are physically active are of youth. And this is very inspirational for us because these are the next role models for the next generation. And 60% of the female youth prefer to participate in terms of walking, jogging, and running. And this tailors our program to ensure that we have these programs to support these active females. So the 62%. So we do a lot of running, walking, and jogging, training programs. We do a lot of challenges on our website. And like I said, we know exactly what they want, so we tailor our programs according to their needs. In terms of triggers, 45% of female participants pursue physical activity due to health-related issues, which make it necessary, and 6% of them participate to an event they attended that changed their view or their kids' view on physical activity, which is very inspirational from our perspective. And in terms of barriers, 55% of females' attitude are related to attitude behavior. So for example, laziness, not having enough time. And this made us focus a lot in our campaigns that you can make time. And if you're lazy, you can be physically active in your house and you can just do it 15 minutes a day and then increase it to 20 minutes and then half an hour a day and so on. And 15% of females don't believe that any barriers will stop them, which is very inspirational for us to know that this percentage does exist. In terms of physical education, unfortunately, even though we implemented female physical activity in schools, only 9% of youth have access to physical education in school due to the COVID restrictions, where kids were going to school from their houses and PE classes were dropped. But what's inspirational to us is that 62% of females are willing to pay extra for personal training and coaches, and we saw like a lot of academies opened up during this pandemic when schools were online, and kids were allowed to be physically active even after school. And we had a lot of female coaches that actually opened up multiple programs that inspired the community to be more physically active during this pandemic. So SFA constantly utilizes insight to complement the triggers that we have. And if we can divide SFA's interventions to main categories, I would focus on 5 categories. Number 1, collaborations. We don't believe that we need to do everything ourselves. We need to give opportunities to the private sector and to also our ambassadors in the private sector, as well as other government sectors. So we have a lot of collaborations and partnerships with government entities, NGOs, global entities, private sector to sponsor some of our community sports groups, as well as different educational sectors. Next, we have programs and events. We focus, like I said, on tailoring impactful, sustainable programs. And by doing that, we get a lot of the private sector involved for them to start driving this moving forward. Active places, we renovate existing places as long as it's open for the public. Also, we just started building our own facilities like YMCA centers in Saudi Arabia in order for it to be accessible to the public. Next, we have raising awareness, and we do that by having different campaigns. And finally, the digital enablement to motivate and track the physical activity movement in the Saudi society. Next, we will just give you a couple of examples of programs that we have implemented in the society. So like I said, we focus on diversity and inclusion, and by doing that, we introduced regional specific sports such as cricket. We have the youth rugby tournament in Saudi. We have the summer camps where we subsidize the private sector. They are already existing summer camps, but because of the low existence in Saudi, we subsidize. They are a bit expensive and only accessible to the niche. So what we do is we subsidize it to the public, where we make it very affordable for people to enroll their kids in these summer camps. Next, we have Friends of Jigda Park. This was a pilot that we did, and then after that, we expanded to 5 different parks where we have different programs in the park, where it's accessible because you have a segment of almost 5 neighborhoods that the park is a walking distance for them. So you have accessibility to tens of thousands of people where they can be physically active on a daily basis. And then you have the community runs where we started this movement. We gave them the knowledge, the know-how, we trained the volunteers, and then moving forward, these communities started to do their own runs. And then we have the Riyadh Marathon. Like I said, we do have 4 weekly training sessions for this, where we focus on promoting the female existence in this. And then we have the CrossFit activation. The reason we brought this example is because it's a man-dominated sport globally, and not only in Saudi. So not only do we have female participants, but we also have Amal Shahrani, who's in the picture here. She participated in the final games in the US, which is, as a male, it's very difficult for you to be qualified for these games. And we're very proud to have a Saudi female who was qualified for the final games in the US. If we also did a lot of collaborations where we executed multiple programs for females. The examples we have here are things that we try to introduce to the public. So we have Netball Tournament. And the reason we introduced this is because it's a global phenomenon that's been growing like paddle tennis. And we wanted to be part of this movement. So we started implementing this program for females specifically because we know that netball is popular amongst the females in the UK and other countries. And then the UN Day also, some of our physical activity programs, especially programs that we are starting, we try to embed the UN SDGs within these programs. So the UN Day is one of these programs. So it's a walking/running program where it focuses on SDG 3 and the health and well-being and promoting physical activity as well as prevention, healthier society, and other things. If we look at the next slide, we also focused on SDGs and other female participations in terms of female participation in groups, such as the Global Goals World Cup, which is a street football program that we implemented, as well as the Women Football League, which is a proper 11-a-side football league. And again, we embedded the UN SDGs in these programs. So the Global Goals World Cup, in order for you to get points, one of the points is on a UN SDG, which you are promoting and doing campaigns on, and the other point is on football itself. Next, we focused a lot on, and this is something that was inspired by This Girl Can campaign that Sports England did. So we focus on body positivity, and there's no one size fits all. And again, this is something that was derived through our data and insights. So a lot of people do physical activity for a short term, either to lose weight or to prepare for an event and so on. And we, through this campaign, we try to emphasize that you just need to be healthier and happier. You don't need to look like someone. You don't need to, your body doesn't need to look like a one size fits all picture that you saw. It's just you being comfortable with who you are, being physically active, listening to your body, and knowing that there's no right body image as long as you're healthy. Here, it just shows how we focus on creating opportunities, which is one of our key mission enablers. And we did that by number one, building assets, which is our multi-purpose domes. And the reason we build domes, it's faster than any facility. So it will be done in 4 to 6 months. And most importantly, it gives participants a very closed environment that's resistant to any weather, and offers them different facilities within the domes, different sports facilities. And the neighborhood clubs are schools that are not utilized after hours. So we opened up these schools as neighborhood clubs for people to be physically active after hours. And they are open to the full family. So the mother, the father, the kids, it's very diverse. And it's located in 13 cities around the kingdom. Next, if we go back to one of the obstacles we had in the beginning of the presentation, it's implementing PE in girls' schools. So we created an online teachers toolkit where any teacher can just go online, get the knowledge, the know-how, and create specific sessions in the schools where they are. So here we're trying to get the teachers to be proactive. Again, back to the beginning of our presentation, we said that females prefer jogging, walking, and running. We created a program called Step Together, where we do it every month, and every month we do it according to whatever is the global theme. So National Friendship Day, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and each session has a different theme. And more than 1,000 women participated in this program. We had more than 3,000 people participating, 1,000 of them were females. And they walk at their own time, their own pace, and all they need to do is just upload the steps counter on our website, and then we calculate it for them, and we give them medals at the end of each month to encourage them to be more physically active. Finally, we have the SFA application. So in our application, we do different challenges according to the feedback we get from the users. whatever, for example, national holiday that we have, whatever theme. And in our application, we have, like I said, more than 100,000 users and more than 30% of females. And hopefully we will be increasing the percentage of females very soon. So the core of all SFA is our community sports groups. So our community sports groups play a very important role in activating society. And we learn a lot from these CSGs because they existed before SFA ever existed. And we actually consider CSGs as our partners, our success partners in getting the community physically active. And we are happy to say that, if we look at community sports groups in Saudi Arabia, 23% are males, 12% are females, and 65% are mixed groups. So I would say almost females make more than 80% of these community sports groups, and we're very proud of these numbers. Most of these community sports groups are walking groups. So they meet up through our application. They just put geolocation, they drop location where they will be physically active, and then they put a time and date where people can join. Cycling is also one of the main sports, as well as running and other sports. So I am more than excited to introduce to you guys the next speakers, and I'm very excited. They are inspiring to the Saudi society and to me specifically, and I am very happy to hear them share their story and inspire us more. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to you, Shaima, for a fantastic and insightful presentation, as always. I'm truly always blown away by the innovative and creative programs that are coming out of the Saudi Sports for All Federation. And I think the increase in female participation of 170% really is a huge feat, and a sign of the successful programs that you are implementing and developing. So thank you for sharing with us today. As Shaima said, we're now going to start the next part of today's workshop, which will be the round table. As part of the round table, we really want to hear from all the participants that are with us here today. And we're also joined by two very special guests, which are coaches coming from Saudi Arabia. So we're joined by Coach Alanud and Coach Noof, who will be available to answer some questions during the roundtable component. And we really want to encourage all of you to interact with one another regarding your experiences as coaches, as leaders, as managers, in terms of recruiting and retaining girls in sport. So this segment is going to be moderated by Viv Holt. As an international education and sports consultant, Vivian Holt works at policy and practice levels in the UK, the Middle East, and throughout the world, with schools, government agencies, NGOs, and other organisations, including Nike and the British Council, as an expert trainer, bespoke consultant, and author of resources. Viv has a particular interest in physical education, sport, physical activity, and school leadership. Viv is a lifelong learner, having gained a first-class honours degree in physical education, a Master of Science degree in education management with distinction, and more recently, a diploma in international education management. Viv has undertaken many roles across her 25-year career, and since 2014 has held a senior international leadership role in the Youth Sport Trust International, which uses the power of physical activity and sport to improve wider education outcomes for young people and schools worldwide. So a special thank you to Viv for joining us today. And Viv, I will pass the floor over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Great, thanks for the introduction. Great to be with you today. So let's start with a question, and perhaps are we going to put something into the poll for this, or are we going to put hands up? How would you like to do this one, Kerry?
We will launch the poll now, Viv.
Fantastic.
There we are.
So take a little bit of time to look at the questions, and please respond with a yes or a no. It'd be great to see what your current situation is. Our first question, are you currently coaching girls or implementing programs which target girls? Yes or no? Fantastic. More yeses than nos. Good to see. Keep putting in those answers, colleagues. Second question, more interesting one. Have you faced challenges in recruiting girls to your club or your program or events? And thank you for your honesty there, because some people are clearly finding it quite challenging. Let's give it another couple of minutes to see if there are more people who want to add their voices to the poll. So we've got quite a lot of people who are currently implementing programs. Thank you for doing that. And some that have had challenges. Perhaps we could move on to ending the poll in a moment so we can get a little bit of feedback. That would be great. Brilliant. Thank you. Okay, so we've got quite a number of people who said they're implementing programs. Please put your hand up, use your little reactions, put your hand up if you'd like to share with us a program that you are currently doing. Any colleagues would like to share something that they're doing? Let's have a look. Kadia, you've got your hand up. Perhaps you'd like to share first of all.
Hello.
Hello, Kadia.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Kerry, so talking to you from Dakar, Senegal. I'm working for Football TAFISA, which is a foundation that empowers the football coach to become a catalyst for girls' equal rights and opportunity through an evidence-based methodology and a tailored support structure. So we are using the power of coaching, of football coach, to empower girls at grassroots level. So our solution is to empower the football coaches to empower girls.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to keep it short, Kadia, because we've got quite a few hands up, but empowering through coaching and football, fantastic. Meshari, you've got your hand up. Tell us more.
Okay, thank you, Viv, and good afternoon, everyone. I'll keep it short. I'm based in Dammam in the eastern province of Saudi Arabia. Besides my full-time job, my extracurricular really passion is about community-based sports. And we started the movement with my passion with triathlon and swim, bike, run to encourage young girls and boys to be more involved in this healthy lifestyle. I'm the father of 3 swimmers, and so it's easily for me to be able to allow these young children to serve as role models to the community. So some of the success stories, we've had a community-based event about 2 years ago, where we led a social bike riding exercise. And amongst the participants was a very energetic millennial who was never really involved in cycling. Fast forward till today, through consistent training and dedication, she's really winning championships at the moment and representing Saudi Arabia internationally. This is from the young adult side. From the youth side, we have a swimming youth club that we've been managing for the last 4 to 5 years. that serves to really empower and teach children starting from the ages of 5 till all the way up to 15 swimming, and in a dedicated manner. So our motto is we would like everybody to learn how to swim once they exit elementary school.
Brilliant. Mashari, thank you for sharing that. And I think you've highlighted for me the real importance of people who are passionate and willing to come forward as coaches so that more young people can get involved, particularly as we try to really engage not just all age groups, but girls. Alanud, I think you had your hand up originally. Tell us a bit more about you and what you do.
Yes, so this is Alanud from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I was so excited to see CrossFit in the workshop PowerPoint were mentioned as a sport. So I thank you for including us. I'm a CrossFit coach and I'm the head coach of the gym I'm working at and owning as well. So whom are the population we're dealing with? Mainly adults and some teens, and we just introduced the kids program last month, and we have like a big segment of seniors, older adults, plus 50.
Brilliant, thank you for that. And I believe we had another couple of people had their hand up. Who else is currently doing something with girls and they'd love to share with us? Anybody else want to share at this point? I'm sure there's lots more good work going on in Saudi and other areas.
I wanted to share something. I was just, I wanted the coaches I wanted to give them the opportunity, but I think you can never expect resistance from something unless you try it first. So football for females in Saudi was a crucial topic. It was not accepted, and that was the perception what people thought. So we participated first time in Global Goals World Cup in Europe, and all the girls that participated were girls who actually learned football from YouTube. So they never got proper coaching, they just had the passion and the love for the sport, and they have been playing the sport since 2009. So they participated in 2018 for the first time. So it's almost 10 years after they started playing football. And these girls won second place in the European Championship, and they were eligible to participate in the final game in New York in the UN Assembly. And this actually was the starting point of creating the first women football league. And in the first league, which came months afterwards, we had 36 teams from all around the kingdom. So I think there's always challenges, but there's also perceptions. And in order for you to overcome these challenges, you have to take the risk and you have to do the first step. And you have to do it right with the right safeguarding, the right knowledge and know-how in order for people to feel safe or comfortable to participate or to take this step. So that was what I wanted to share. There's always challenges, but you have to overcome these challenges.
Thank you, Shaima. I've taken a couple of points from you there. One I'll come back to later, which is about taking risks. But I think the other thing, which is a really good example of how we can empower more girls, is they found out about football through a digital tool. And if you haven't always got access, or perhaps during lockdown, people have been working at home. The one thing I've learned about working in Saudi Arabia, you are very good on mobile phones and digital applications. I'm sure that's at least another way we can get girls involved. Noof, you had your hand up. Tell us more.
Hi, everyone. My name is Noof. I'm a boxing coach from Saudi Arabia. First of all, thank you for this opportunity. It's a pleasure to be part of such an amazing group and such an amazing topic in this workshop. So I've been training girls and women since 2017. And if we go back to my background, for me, I was an obese, unhealthy young lady since I was 12 years old. So up to 16, I started to have more knowledge about how to lose weight, how to be healthier. and dig deep more in finding what the sport that I'll be interested to be part of. Having this background helped me to implement programs for girls, avoiding all the struggles that I've been through in the past years. So in my programs, I always emphasize on the mental health part and the girls' journey in any program they be part of. So for me, I believe that focusing on the mental health in a sport is very important because let's say go back to 10 years ago, mental health was not even a topic anyone discussed. And the mental health for females in sport, we need to focus more on, as the social pressure globally on girls only is having like an impact on them participating or even competing in any sport. Having the courage to be part of any sport for a young lady is a pressure. What if she handled the pressure of being an athlete and a competitive athlete as well? So for me, I emphasize, I feel it's very important to focus on the mental health for an athlete, to have a healthier journey for them to participate in any sport.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Noof. And thank you for sharing your personal journeys. That's very, very good of you. You mentioned two really important things for me there, which I think we need to think about. First of all, is you talked about finding a sport that was right for you. And I think for girls, the more opportunities we can give them to find something for them, is going to encourage more girls to come forward. And you also made that very important connection. We know from research around the world that young people face increasing stresses in their lives, and that sport is very well connected. If you play sport, you can improve your mental health. So thank you for that. We've time for two or three more. And the first hand that went up was somebody who I can only see, and forgive me, I don't have a name, but you're just down as iPhone. Hello, who are you?
Hello, everyone.
Hello, who are you, sir?
Actually, I'm good. This is Sultan Salama, president of Saudi Winter Games Club.
Hello.
Hello. Actually, our club is active under Saudi for all Sport for All Federation. We started in 2018. We started to learn the skate to the people, for the girls and boys. We start with, I think, like 3 girls only in the beginning, and then we had, after like 4 months, like 80 girls they playing skating. After the support we get it from Sport for All, we got the equipment for them to play ice hockey, and they growing and learning fast. And we went to Abu Dhabi, I remember, in 2019 in first outside camping, and they did very well, and we had a lot of good words for the girls. So they said like maximum in 6 months they are in this level, so they are so good. And we win competition in Abu Dhabi, like we got the first place for the girls in the ice hockey. After that we had a camp in Sweden. Actually, the girls I see, like they learn fast, they are so smart, and if they have the right way to practicing and put the dream and the goal, they will do it. Actually,
your story is a very inspiring one. I'd like to ask you perhaps just one question, because you said you started off with 4 girls or 3 girls, and within 4 months you had 80 girls. What was it that encouraged the girls to come along? Was it the way, did you speak to their families? Was it the activity? Was it a safe place? What was it that encouraged them?
Actually, we want to thank the Sport for All Federation. Our technology, that help us do well. We use the app, We put a lot of posts in the social media. We put like, what is this, the ice hockey in this posted, and we have like a lot of questions that really there is ice hockey in Saudi Arabia. We can join this sport. We can learn this sport.
Yeah.
And sport for we was like training 3 times in the week. After we got like membership with the Sport for All Federation, we was trainings every day in the week.
Yeah.
Actually 6 days in the week. So by this support, we got like increased the numbers.
Brilliant. Thank you for explaining that. And I think, you know, what you've articulated is when you've got such a good organization like the Saudi Sport for All Federation, they can give lots of strategies to help us encourage girls. Thank you for your input.
Yes, true. Thank you so much.
No, time for a couple more. Jennifer, you had your hand up. Would you like to contribute? Tell us more about what you've been doing.
Hi, thank you, Viv. So just as introduction, I'm the Director of Youth Programs here at Sports for All. So I have a background in sports for my entire life, and I've had the opportunity to teach and coach in the past, both golf and swimming. And I just wanted to bring up the point about segmenting when you're teaching youth or even teaching adults. When we segment you know, the boys and girls either together or we separate based on gender. And you know, I've taught both, and very interestingly enough, in Canada, where I'm originally from, and here in Saudi, where I've been living the last 20 years. And interestingly enough, in both spaces in the world, I find that girls actually do better when they are in a group of only girls. You know, currently right now I volunteer with a swim group, and I see that when the girls are grouped together with the boys, often the boys do dominate a bit of the space, the time. You know, they were more verbal. They're in some cases overconfident. But when I find I have the girls alone together, they are more communicative. There's more sharing. And, you know, bring up to the point that Nof made about mental health. I really think it's valuable for their positive mental health, where they feel they can express themselves. So I just wanted to make that point that, you know, one of my thoughts originally when I was going into the world of teaching was, you know, grow up, you know, let's put everyone together, we can learn from each other. But interestingly enough, in my experience, I find that if you put the boys and girls separate, you know, especially on the community basis and just amateur or just grassroots levels, that they do tend to thrive.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing, Jennifer, and thank you for sharing your experience.
Thank you, Viv.
Time for one more. Irene, you've had your hand up very patiently. Please feel free to share. You're on mute.
Good day, everyone.
Hello. Oh dear.
My name is Irene Jeremiah. Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, I come from Botswana. I am a level 1 coach of hockey. I do coaching for young girls and adults. But of recent, I joined hockey in 2011. When I joined, we had close to like 30 girls in the team. Of recent, we only have 50, if I may say, who are active. We have got 10 girls. So while I was doing this, I realized that this problem is across all sports code around Botswana. Like there's just a shortage, a low participation of women around sports in all capacity, from a younger age in primary schools to tertiary, to adult life, to leadership. There's just a poor participation of women across all sports code. Due to many reasons, through TAFISA and the flood program, I recently did a project on women participation, trying to understand the challenges that we may go through as women in sports, the challenges, the recommendations, the challenges. I wanted to get them from the males and the females, both of them in one place, to understand what could be really the problem. what is it, that thing that is stopping us to participate like men? Like right now, the guys that are found playing hockey back in 2012, they're still there. But the girls that are there now are the newly recruited ones. So we're just basically failing to retain these young girls into sports. Of recent, something that broke my heart, I saw a young girl who is in weightlifting in Botswana, who went to the Olympics, quit sport.
Right.
She quit sports. I had to interview her to realize that she really quit sports because of cultural preferences. From her culture, she has to get married. She has to go and have children, so she can do both at the same time. So this program, Tota, it's very close to my heart because I really want to find out how we can help to retain these young girls or women everywhere, because you see a difference. A woman who is in a leadership position, she's going to have those difficulties to run as men. Right now, I would like to ask this question to everyone in the room. What is the problem? Are we the problem, women, or the society that we are in is the problem? Because from my understanding right now, the African tradition also, it plays a huge role in us continuing in sports. For example, myself, when I was still young, I used to play softball. I could not go for training as much as my brother because my mother would tell me that I need to stay home and take care of the household chores. But because he's a boy, he had to go and come home as much time as he wanted. Eventually, I did quit football, softball. So I understand that this may be a factor that is contributing to low participation of women in sports. But also, what can we do as the world as large? What can we do to help?
I really get where you're coming from, and you're speaking with such passion as somebody who really wants to get women and girls involved. And I think you're raising global issues here about how we get young people involved, older women involved. Are there societal pressures or other pressures? And anybody, I think what would be really helpful here for us all, if anybody has strategies or ideas about what they have done to tackle some of these real things that Irene has highlighted, first of all, put them in the chat box so we can share them. I don't propose to have all the answers, but I'll certainly be sharing with you through the resource that Nike commissioned some of the challenges that you've highlighted and perhaps some of the strategies that might help. But I'm sure with all the experience out there and all our contributors, if you've got strategies and ideas about how we can overcome some of these real issues that Irene spoke so passionately about, please do put them in the chat box. Great conversation, and thank you so much for your contribution. I'm going to hand back to Kerry just for a moment before we move on to something else, but thank you everybody for sharing with us. That was brilliant.
Yes, fully agreed. I mean, first of all, thank you so much to you, Viv, for your excellent moderation and for guiding the discussion so efficiently there. It was really, really inspiring and really interesting hearing from such a diverse mix of participants. So thank you, Viv, and thank you to all of the participants who intervened there, either by sharing their experiences via the chat or by telling us themselves. That was fantastic. So we're now moving on to the introduction of the very first resource of the day, which is the Made to Play Coaching Girls Guide, which is going to be introduced to you by a very familiar face, Viv Holt. So once again, Viv, I will pass directly back to you. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And thank you, Getan, for sharing the screen, and I'll prompt you when I need to move on. One of the things that I'd say about this is it's this resource is now available and being used worldwide. So for those of you who are already familiar with it, I hope this is just a revisit for you. For those that haven't seen it, I hope that what I'm going to talk to you about will excite you enough to be able to download the resource after this webinar. So the Women's Sport Foundation undertook some detailed research to look at best practices when coaching girls and identify the barriers for girls. What we do know is that worldwide, girls are less active than boys. And in some parts of the world, they're dropping out of activity at a rate of 2 times more than boys. Reasons include things like lack of confidence or skill, no female role models or coaches, self-consciousness, and Irene highlighted some of the things, family and cultural barriers. So Nike, together with colleagues in North America and us, Youth Sport Trust International in EMEA, Europe, Middle East and Africa, created the Made to Play Girls Coaching Guide. And this guide equips coaches with the tools that can help make sport fun for girls now and in the future. Today, we have parents and other caring adults who are stepping forward as coaches, sometimes for the first time, and this is a resource for them too. And the guide focuses on 5 pillars, which are there to create more inclusive play and sport environments. And the pillars are creating connection, progress, not outcomes, safe environments, let her compete, and brave, not perfect. And I'll be talking about those pillars in a little bit more detail. What the aim is with this resource is to increase the quality and the quantity of trained volunteer coaches. And this is a key part of Nike's Made to Play commitment to get kids moving. But as I said, the resource is there for anyone to use. Next slide, please, Gatan. Okay, so you've been given a little bit of information about me. The only thing I'd like to add here is I have been a teacher and I've also been a coach throughout my life, and I've worked coaching young girls and boys in schools, in communities, and girls at elite level. And I firmly believe in this resource, and there are things that I've learned as a part of the team that have contributed to the resource as well. And so I'm really pleased to be able to share it with you today. Can we briefly go on to the next slide, please? These are the resources I'm talking about, and we'll be sharing these with you at the end so that you can take down the details and you can use them. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's start looking at the pillars. So the first one is create connection. So the recent research showed us that nothing matters more to girls than to be supported with friends and in supported relationships. The quality of their relationship with their coach and their ability to connect with their teammates was one of the highest predictors of enjoyment and continued engagement in sport. It's important though, don't be fooled into thinking that supportive relationships are the only important thing. Or then when we say supportive, we're talking about hugging and that kind of thing. You will see, or you will have seen, that girls want to compete and get better at their sport. But all of that needs to first have a foundation of feeling seen and being heard. Asking questions, giving girls a chance to express is all about creating the right connection to each other, and also to create a positive connection to the coach. And using names is equally important, so we value girls as individuals. So talking about strategies you do to encourage girls to come along in the first place is really important. Getting them there is really important. Some of the strategies that we highlight through the resource are things like reassuring parents and caregivers and community leaders that their daughters will be provided with a safe and culturally sensitive environment. And I noticed particularly when Shaima was talking, she talked about one of her pillars, which was places and suitable facilities. And I know from the 4 years I've worked in Saudi Arabia, there was a high priority placed on providing safe and suitable places so that girls can take part in sport. Another way of just getting girls through the door, as we would say, is to invite girls to come along with a friend. Bring a friend, even if they don't want to play or join in, come and watch and get to know what's going on. Make it a welcoming environment for them to come along, and helping them to feel that they can get there and they can be comfortable when they get there. And inviting them to talk to people when they arrive, create that connection. Another way of getting that connection created is by coaches going to visit schools and connecting with girls in an environment where they already feel safe. So creating connection is a combination of things and how you do it. And one of the things that helps create a good connection with girls and give them that relationship of being supported, when you talk to them, create a circle, because in a circle, everybody's equal. There's no hierarchy. I reflect back to some of my early coaching when I'd be speaking to a group of the young people I was working with, and the keenest or the most talented always came right to the front because they wanted to hear, and others were left behind, which just reinforced that they weren't valued and they weren't part of something. So creating a connection is a really important thing to do. Next slide, please. So the next one is let her compete. And this is a really important pillar. When we think about how we motivate young people, because in sport or activities, it's often the winners of something are the young people who love to take part in sport. So we've got to think about how we can create other kinds of competition that fits all kinds of interests, so that young people who are still learning skills or just aren't as interested in competition can still feel accomplished. So what do we mean by different types of competition? It could be something really simple, like competing against yourself. It could be dribbling a football or trying to maintain control of the ball while dribbling around obstacles, and then trying to perhaps beat the number of obstacles you dribbled around safely and effectively. Trying to score a goal in football and increasing the distance from the goal each time. Working with a friend or peers, working in a team and trying to pass the ball as many times as possible without dropping it. So you can create a competitive culture within your environment of sport without it always being winner takes all. And I think what we have to remember here is something that was raised, and I think it was raised by Noof about mental health. Some young people have overwhelming amounts of stress in other parts of their lives. It's a kind of stress that actually changes the way their bodies and brains respond to stress, which means we as coaches have to be even more conscious of how we introduce competition, because competition is a form of stress, and give them the chance to be comfortable where they are and challenge themselves. We have to think very carefully about competition and how we introduce it for girls, because what we know largely through research is that girls' experience with sport versus boys is very different. Boys naturally get nudged into playing sport. It's considered normal for them. So they're consciously and unconsciously given opportunities. they do it in school, they do it in grounds, they do it at sports clubs. Girls, on the other hand, often have to be pulled into sports. And some of you have talked today about how you've pulled girls into your sports settings. They're less likely to naturally end up there. And one of the things that we know that pulls them in are positive relationships with the coach or the peer. But too many coaches make the mistake that thinking that that's the only thing they want. They do want competition, but it has to be competition in a way that makes sense to them. What we know is that girls want this different type of competition, and they want the opportunity eventually to have the winner takes all kind of competition, but they need to gradually be built up to do that. And a way of doing that is about praise and the way we want to support praise. And if we praise and support in the right way, we will get girls more interested in competition through the phases of competition because they're motivated by it. They just come at it from a different starting point. So it's really important that we let them compete. We create a competitive culture and we praise how they compete, but in a way that's appropriate to girls, which is different to boys. Next slide, please. So let's move on to the next pillar, which is progress, not outcomes. When we're teaching young people new skills, they often forget how much progress they've made because they often compare themselves to somebody else. They forget, for example, that they couldn't score a goal when they first came, but now they can because they're too busy comparing themselves to the really talented person or teammate who can score every time. And it's our job as coaches to really engage girls to remind them of the progress they've made so they can see that progress matters and recognize what it takes to make progress. Asking how you do that is a way that helps. The importance of being able to reflect on what a young person has done to be successful will enable them to keep repeating that skill time and time again. This is even more important for girls because many girls are not used to feeling competent in a sport environment. They are much more likely to compare themselves to their peers. So we've got to build them skills, help them go from that, I can't do it, to I can do it. And once they get that concept of I can do it and I can progress, this is more likely to keep them coming to sport, and it's going to be more likely to stop them from dropping out. Because it's okay, we can get them through the door, but we need these strategies to stop them from dropping out. So when we talk about praise, we talk about praise the right things in the right way. What do we mean by that? What we praise when we have girls in our session is really important. We might praise skills and skill development, but we also might praise other qualities that the girls bring to the session: helping a friend, trying hard, concentrating, supporting teammates, always being motivational. Praising everything that girls contribute to a sports session helps them to develop from I can't to I can. So we do something called the TLC, and that's praising the right way, the right things, and labeling them. We call it tell it, label it, celebrate it. For example, well done, Nora, for supporting your partner in that football drill. Well done, Layla. I can see you've worked hard today on improving your accuracy in shooting a goal. Always by labeling it, the young person feels This is for them, and it's helping them move from I can't to I can. So it's important to keep girls coming to help them understand that their progress is very important. It's not just about the outcome. Can we move on to our next slide, please? And this is the pillar of brave, not perfect. And this is a really interesting one in terms of the research and what we found out. One of the things that we all know is that girls are much more likely to worry about being perfect than boys are. They're much more likely to hesitate to do something until they feel fully confident they're going to be able to do it. You may have heard there's a piece of research that showed that when women and men apply for jobs, they take very, very different approaches. Women apply for jobs only when they meet 100% of the qualifications required, whereas men apply for jobs when they meet 60% of the qualifications. Women and girls have been made to think that you shouldn't do something unless you're 100% sure of doing it or it's for you. What's important for us to know as coaches is that this is not a biological difference, it's something people are socialized into doing. But it gets in the way of learning new things and accessing new opportunities. So we've got to change that and help girls prioritize being brave and trying new things. And somebody talked about being brave and trying new things and taking risks. Shaima talked about it, taking risks, and that's such an important thing. We've got to create a culture of positivity where you praise effort, try new things, and focusing any feedback we give in our sessions about what went well first. And the emphasis of any feedback is what did we do well before moving on to what could be even better next time. Note the language here. We never say what was wrong, what did you fail at. We constantly ask for improvement, but present it in a supportive way. And this is also about letting mistakes go. Set the tone as a coach, the way you stand, your body language, is it open, relaxed? Are your facial expressions positively? Is the energy you give off motivational and supportive and not negative, so that girls feel encouraged to be brave and not perfect? These are really important things that will help engage our girls. So we've looked at 4 pillars in very brief. I'm going to move on to something else which will add the 5th pillar, which is again in the coaching guide, which is next slide, please, Betan, which is a girl checklist. And this is something else in the resource to help you. Doing a girl checklist is a tool within the resource that you can use to help you assess what's happening in the space when you're working. We understand that as a coach, there are many things that you don't have control over, but there are still things that are important to know about. So you can either support girls through the challenges, or you can advocate for changes to be made. You provide a safe space that is accessible and girls can arrive safely. For example, is it well lit? And again, I refer back to my experience working in Saudi. In my experience, this is something that is very, very well done. Are the bathrooms appropriate for girls' needs? Is the way that you greet your girls when they arrive at the session creating that welcoming culture? Have you got female sporting role models that girls can look up to that are displayed in their girl-only spaces? Seeing adult women who look and dress like them when taking part in sport is also equally important. Can we move to the next slide, please? Appropriate equipment is so important to helping our girls develop in sport. And one of the things I would ask you to note here, that it should not only be age appropriate, but stage appropriate. And what I mean by that is if a girl is in the very early stages of learning how to play, say, basketball, even though she may be 13 or 14 years of age, she should have a ball which is suitable for her level of ability. So it might be a size 3, a smaller basketball. Research is very clear that personal items are often a major barrier to girls participating in sport, and it needs sensitive and understanding conversations with you as coaches to understand the issues and to help girls navigate through that. Inclusive language, really important. And although quite a lot of sport that you will encounter will be single gender sport, it's always useful for us as coaches to reflect on the language being used. And girls really want to know, they want to be inspired that there are other females and events to motivate and inspire them and give them aspiration. And we've heard some lovely examples of from our coaches of girls who've really become national or international players and are some to look up to. But I know from my experience in Saudi, there's some very famous female sporting personalities such as Nora, who was your first Taekwondo athlete. I've heard of Dalma, who is very famous in the world of equestrian. And the one that stands out for me, because I'm a Grand Prix fan, is Asil Ahmed. She was the first female Saudi Arabian to drive a Formula One car in 2018, which was fantastic. I also know that Saudi Arabia is very proud and continuing to work to host more and more international sporting events. And I'm sure there'll be lots of women events that you can highlight, like the netball and others, that will inspire girls and give them that inspiration they need to continue or even to get into sport. And finally, and the girl to do checklist is a reflection section. And it's really important that we reflect with girls when they come, girls and boys, but girls when they come to our coaching session. Giving them a chance to share in a supportive environment is really important. It could be formally with a circle at the end, asking them to share feelings, what they enjoyed, what things they've progressed in. Perhaps it's to give them a chance to help shape what they do in the next session with their own ideas. It may be a one-to-one situation for those girls who are still not comfortable speaking in a whole group. But I think it's also important for us as coaches to reflect too. Do we take time to reflect on what we have been like today, not what we've done? How was our energy levels? How was our motivation? How did we communicate? How did we help and support our girls to take part? And these two are important aspects. Next slide, please. So listen, think about language, think about role models, and continue to create safe spaces to do a girl check. And the next slide, please, Getan. What I've done here is briefly taken you through the 5 pillars in the girls' coaching guide and the girls' to-do checklist. There's lots of other information in there, research, planners for those people new to coaching, which will help you set up your coaching session. There's also a really good top tip section, which is a behavior bank to remind you and to help you as you develop as coaches. The website is there. The great news, if you didn't already know, is that this resource is available not only just in English, but it's available in 14 languages, including Arabic. So I hope you will take the time to take a look at it, and I hope it helps you in your session. So I'd like to say thank you very much. I'd love to have been able to do this in person with you and make it more interactive. But I hope I've inspired some of you to have a look at the Nike Coaching Girls Guide resource. Thank you very much. I'm now going to hand back to Kerry.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Viv, for that fantastic intervention on the Made to Play Coaching Girls Guide. You took us through it so seamlessly there. We had some fantastic comments coming through the chat as you were progressing through the pillars of the Coaching Girls Guide. And I would like to say we do have a few minutes before our next speaker. So if anyone has direct questions for Viv, please raise your hand or utilize the chat function. I can see we have comments from Nufa saying that passion is key to encourage girls to sport and make it a lifestyle so they feel it's fun and not a compulsory sport. We have Kadia, who's sharing her experiences with football de farsa, meaning football giving strength, and she's sharing a little bit about what they're doing in creating a safe space in their team where girls can practice and build their self-leadership, self-esteem, and promote leading in a healthy way. Noof is talking about progress over winning when it comes to competing for girls, as this reduces the pressure and it's great for mental health. Kadia is also telling us it's important to focus on efforts and not results, as this is the way that we can achieve results. We have Nufa talking about the spirit of pure competition is what they have in Saudi women and for every girl to see for themselves that they are beautiful and they'll become more beautiful with sports and physical health. A couple of questions that came in at the bottom, Viv, are Kadia has asked what could be a tool or activity to best promote Made to Play Coaching Girls Guide. I guess this is Kadia wanting to share the Coaching Girls Guide amongst her own network. Do you have any hints or tips, Viv? Oh, you're muted.
Apologies. I think Nike is just very keen that anybody who's interested to read it, from a parent to a coach, to just download it and read it. So, you know, make it available. My advice is make it available for people to read. There's lots of great stuff in there. Would be my answer.
Thank you, Viv. And for certainly for all the participants that are here today, we will be sharing the Coaching Girl Guide. And as you'd said, it is available in 14 languages, I believe. So we'll be sharing in English as well as other languages that are appropriate for the participants. A question that's come in is how we can get and keep girls with disabilities in sport.
Okay. Forgive me, I don't know currently. I'm sure Shaima would be able to share at some point what SFA are doing to encourage disabled young people into sport. But I would suggest, if it's appropriate, there is a head coach at the Bahrain National Paralympics who are responsible for doing inclusive sport for girls and young women, and have some very good programs running there, and they may be worth contacting to see if they can share some of their strategies and advice. Head coach there is someone called Shaima Saleh Alhusseini, and I can make those details available to you that can be distributed.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate that.
Thank you, Viv. Maybe just one more question that's come in, and that is it's not an easy one, is to do with shifting the mindset of girls. So I guess this is regarding maybe some attitudes and maybe some internal barriers that girls may have in accessing or in motivating themselves to undertake sports and physical activity opportunities.
I think we've had some lovely examples from people in the round table. You know, mindset, making ice hockey fashionable for girls. That was a great one for Saudi Arabia. Finding the right sport. I think it's the way I've always done it with girls who've not wanted to take part, is to first of all talk to them to find out why they don't want to take part. and often the mindset are underlying other things, like, you know, I don't want to build muscles, or I don't want this, that, and the other. And then it's to provide something that really isn't too sporty. So come along with your friend and come and try something out. And I think we had, who was it said, give them opportunity to try different things as well. It's not an easy thing, but the one thing I've learned in both sport and education is once you get a few people and you get the wave in the sea rising, you will get to the tipping point when the wave goes over and suddenly it gathers momentum. So I think it's a step-by-step approach. Talk to girls, find out what and why they don't want to come. There's often underlying problems. It could be cultural, it could be a weight issue, it could be they don't like the sport, and try and overcome those challenges to get them in the door. And then step by step, try and encourage more so you reach the tipping point of the wave so it gains momentum. We had that lovely example around the triathlon from Meshri about, you know, he started small, it became bigger, and then more people. You know, it's not easy, but that's the best advice I could possibly give. I hope that's okay.
I think that was a tremendous answer, Viv. So thank you. I wish we had some more time, but unfortunately, that is us. It's time to move on to the next speaker now. So I'd like to offer a huge thank you to you, Viv, for your moderation of the round table and for taking us through and assisting us in discovering the Made to Play Coaching Girls Guide. It's been fantastic to have you with us today. So a big thank you. And now it is time for the introduction of the second resource of the day, the Made to Play Hijab Product Playbook. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our final speaker, Huda Lukile, sports coach and consultant. So Huda grew up in the Netherlands and she first came into contact with kickboxing at the age of 11. She soon found out that kickboxing makes her heart beat faster. She feels at home in the gym and trains 6 days a week. She quickly got the hang of it, and in 2005, she became Dutch youth champion. Naturally, she chose sports management and movement as her education. She's been inspired herself as a young girl by her coach and aims to offer others that same inspiration now, to be the coach for the other. With her knowledge and experience in top-class sports and her social pedagogical background, she knows how to reach kids, especially girls, and get them moving, literally. Huda makes young people feel important and capable of more than they think. As a consultant, Huda likes to take a fresh look at a project. In developing programs, she makes a fine mixture of her knowledge and experience linked to theory. Her mission is to give coaches the tools to make sports more accessible for girls. She believes that it is important that every individual can play sports on their own terms and stands for equality and diversity in sports. Wearing a hijab can make a big difference in how some girls experience sport. Huda experienced this herself when she was growing up and finding her way into kickboxing. Huda says, for girls who wear it, the hijab can be a source of power and strength, both on and off the playing field. In 2021, she was asked by Nike's social and community impact team to join an international group of coaches to create the Made to Play Hijab Product Playbook, a guide that will help you give hijab-wearing athletes and their teammates the information and support that they need to keep playing. So now we're going to play a very short video before I pass the floor to Huda.
What I've always valued about sport is the opportunity to grow. We know that through sport, we harness the power to change the world.
I, as a person, have grown and gained so much confidence and became the bubbly JJ. And that's all thanks to sport, that's all thanks to football.
regardless of your religion, of your race, of your gender. We can all be doing the same exact thing for one similar goal.
Just love what you do, give it 100%, and trust me, if you do that, your success itself will speak and you don't have to say anything. You just focus and just go for it and just do it.
Wonderful. And now we will get Huda's presentation onto the screen, and I will pass over to you, Huda. So the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, Kerry. It's a really honor to be here, and it's a really good webinar. I think the best of last year. So, and I will say also something in Arabic. Assalamu alaikum. And ana fakhura to be here. So I mix it a little bit with English. I'm very happy to be here. And first of all, before we go further, I want to stand up with you because I cannot sit so long on a chair. So if you are able to stand up, please stand up. So, okay, perfect. Because we are love sports, we need to have a little bit exercise today. So please breathe 2 times. Another time. Perfect. Okay, so I'm a kickboxer. Now, of course, I'm now also mother of 3 kids, so I'm always exercising. But for now, I want to do with you 2 punches: the left punch and then the right punch. Okay, we can do this for 5 times. So this is the first 1, left, right, 2, left, right, 3, left, right, 4, left, right, and 5, left, right. Perfect. So now we can start. This is for me very important when I'm sit the whole day, but it was so inspiring. Or really, this is not normal. But first of all, we start with the video so you can know me a little bit more, and then we start with the presentation. Kerry, can you? Yes.
I was 11 years old and we had a guest lesson about kickboxing at school. During judo, I always had to sit on the mat, which I thought was boring. Karate was more fun, but just not exciting enough. In kickboxing, I was allowed to punch and kick. You train your entire body with different moves. I was completely blown away. I enjoyed it that much. I knew for the first time, I want to do this. And not just now, but for the rest of my life. When I got home, I was so excited, and not much later I went to visit the only kickboxing school in Houten with my father, Kickboxing School Jellema. My mother was worried because I was the only girl in a ring, surrounded by men. I thought it was super cool and started kickboxing more often and fanatically. I thought, here it's going to happen, and it truly was. Despite all the prejudice and expectations, I kept kickboxing. Soon I was training 6 days a week. Boxing became my obsession. I was totally addicted to it. I always thought about it, I was always busy with it, and even at the bakery I was still shadow boxing until it was my turn. When I started kickboxing, I didn't wear a hijab yet. When I was 14, I made a choice to wear a hijab. I expected confirmation from my family that I had made a wise decision, but there was mostly confusion. I worked even harder to show that a hijab doesn't have to be a barrier. Okay, my hijab didn't always stay in place, but I was creative. Before I entered the ring, I taped it with wig tape. I also taped it during that one game, the Dutch Championship of 2005, the most exciting moment in my life. The many training hours were rewarded. I gave a left jab and a right corner that beat the opponent. The Dutch Championship was mine. I totally envisioned it, a bright future with a closet full of prizes. The world was at my feet. Until that one day, I got into a car accident. My body couldn't do anything anymore. I couldn't train, I couldn't play any more games. My dream was shattered. I was in for a tough fight, this time with myself. I had to say goodbye to my competitive career and threw myself completely into my other passion, working in sports, so that I could inspire, motivate, and move others. I know better than anyone what kind of positive impact this can have on your life, not only in the ring, but also outside of it. Now I give inspiration sessions all over the world. I am a consultant who wants to move young people. I work together with Nike to coach young people for more personal growth. I found a way to deal with my situation. I changed my plans and I turned adversity into strength. I combined who I am with what I want.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I want to start with the Made to Play Hijab Playbook. I'm very proud of this. Of course, it's not only my information, but with the whole team from the world. So wearing a hijab can make a big difference in how some girls experience sports. And so, as you know, I experienced this myself when I was young and growing up, finding my way into kickboxing and also at the two sport education that I did. And for girls who choose to wear it, the hijab can be a sort of power and strength on and off the playing field. And so, as you know, in 2021, I was asked by Nike Social Community Impacts team to join an international group of coaches to create the Made to Play Hijab Product Playbook. And yeah, it's a guide that will help you give hijab wearing athletes and their teammates the information and support they need to keep playing, because that's the most important thing. First of course, they need to go to play, and then I hope they keep playing. It's also available on Nike.com in different languages, also in Arabic. So let's go to the second. Yes, perfect. I want to share with you some statistics from Europe that you know how it is here. We talked a little bit. Well, we are talking a little bit about culture, and culture makes a difference to girls and sports. And we define culture as a system of knowledge shared by large groups of people. And this is how it is in Europe. Let me see the second, the other slide, please. Yes, perfect. The gender equality is improving in my country. Like Sweden's optimistic with 57% of people agreeing with this statement, while in Hungary, it's, however, less optimistic with only 30%. So it's a very big, a very big gap. The other slide, please. The statement that we have here is, I think women are given equal opportunities in sports as men. They are very low opinions about equal opportunities for women, which may impact motivation for women to take part. You can see here in Czech Republic, less than 20% agree. In Italy, less than 30% agree. And in France, less than 55% agree. So, okay, we can work on this. And the number of women who are members of a sport club, whilst numbers across Europe are very low, there are many differences between countries. You can see here in Czech Republic, less than 12% are members. In France, less than 43% are members, and Estonia, more than 60% are members. So I love to show this to you, because also in Europe we can we can have more opportunities to get girls into sport. Please, the other slides. Thank you. And then we can go to the other slide about health, please. Yes, perfect. So today we'll be talking about girls and sports, and specifically now about Muslim girls. Our purpose is to create awareness about the participation of Muslim girls in sports, to give you ideas and tools to include more girls in your programs. And I want to tell you more about, of course, you know a lot about the Islam and about how it is with the health, but I love to share this with you, and I'm curious about your thoughts. So in Islam, a healthy lifestyle is very important. Muslims are encouraged to maintain a balanced diet and remain active and healthy. But despite this fact, the participation of Muslim girls in sports is low. It is often amongst the lowest group of participation, like you see in France, UK, Germany, and many other parts of the world. And we know that active girls are not only healthier, but do better in school, in their communities, and in their future careers. And this is especially true for girls who are often less active and have fewer opportunities to play than boys. We know that girls who are being celebrated for their progress, they build their confidence, and this encourages them to try new things and take risks. And girls and young women need the physical, mental, and the social benefits that sports participation has been shown to give, because in recent years, a problematic trend is the high rates of anxiety and depression and fear in girls and young women. And many of these girls and young women are unable to access the mental health treatment they need. So access to programs that provide benefits in non-traditional ways, that is vital. You can use also these following points to explain the information for the girls and their parents to get them involved in sports. And yes, thank you. Modesty, or how do you say that? Health is important reason for all girls. Modesty is also a very important thing from the perspective of Muslim girls, and how this is important for their positive experience of sports. And that before I go to more detail, we are now in February, and in 2 months there's the Ramadan, and that's I'm looking forward to the Ramadan. And my question for people, they also fasting, or they have girls. Our first question is, what are you doing with Ramadan and sports? And now I want to tell you more about that, because girls in the programs who choose to fast can still do sports, in my opinion. But if a girl wants to take it slowly, it's okay. And modesty is, of course, not only about wearing a hijab. It also includes behavior. So as you know, everyone I think here knows what a hijab is, but I love to share more information for the one who don't know. Now, hijab, it's a traditional symbol of, a hijab is a head cover worn by some Muslim women. It's a traditional symbol of modesty and privacy, and it's important for religious, cultural reasons. And modesty rules are open to interpretation. For example, some girls and women choose to cover every part of their body except their face, and others may not. And some girls may already wear the hijab depending on their culture and family expectations. And other girls may still be learning about the Muslim culture and may look up to their mother, sister, or other female role models. And girls choose to wear the hijab at different ages. For some, it could be the start of puberty or even before. And for others, it could be marriage or particular age or just a time she decides for herself. And like I said before, for many girls, it's also a search of empowerment. And the choice of how to dress should never be an obstacle to engage in sports. And to increase the chance of participation in sports, girls should be supported in their choices. It shouldn't matter if they choose to wear a long trouser and a hijab or a shirt. And it's important for the coach not to show their personal judgment, and that can make them feel unsafe. And if we talk about personal boundaries, they should be respected, because some girls can be insecure about their body or have their periods or just don't feel comfortable to shower or change their clothes. So this is my second question that I want to know more about from your perspective, is how do you work with girls when they have their periods or something else? Is there something that you did very special that we can learn all from it? So last but not least, having a female coach and role model can help girls to feel supported and understood. And of course, whilst a lot of these advices are meant for modest Muslim girls, we see a lot of these also work for all girls, because if their choice of showering or wearing covered clothes is offered, it helps create a safe environment for all girls. And I think a safe environment is the most important thing. And I see this also on the webinar today, because it's so safe environment here online. We can talk to each other and we can give each other examples. And even this is very important for the sport participation. Next slide, please. Thank you. Family is a very, very important topic. Considerations, parents and caregivers play an important role in modeling positive health behaviors. It's very important to communicate with a family and the community, because it's all about the intercultural communication. Even in one country, there are big differences. Because we have many culture differences. What works for one girl may not work for another. It's important to know not only their religion-oriented vision, but also the cultural-oriented perspective. And like I said, there are differences between generations, within countries, and as well between countries. For example, a girl in the northern villages in Morocco can be wearing a scarf at the age of 4, while a middle-aged Muslim woman in the Balkan countries does not wear one at all. And having a coach from the own community can make a big difference, because the girls and parents can identify with the coach, and so they will be more committed. And also, for me, it's also important that the kids and the women can how do you say that? That they can see itself in the images for the promotional materials, because more girls will self-identify, and if they can see someone who looks like them, they will say, if they can do it, so can I. And there are also some challenges. We have a lot of examples in the chat. I read it later in the chat. And the challenges are, for example, girls receive conflicting cultural messages about what it means to be a girl or young women, and what it means to be an athlete. And it could also be because of generation gap. For example, the second generation is not the same as the third generation. Another example is the lack of female role models. the more girls start and grow a career in sports, the more other girls will see the opportunities to become an athlete as well. And last but not least, the lack of confidence and the lack of time. At the beginning of my presentation, I share with you that Islam as religion encourages mental and physical health. So from that perspective, there's no reason for not exercising and participation in sports. However, in the practice, we see something else. So it's very important to talk about it and to give parents more information about what is how sport is important for your health. Okay. Let me see. Yes, thank you. You can read it here also. Always shown understanding of personal motivation, focus on benefits of sport, and create a welcoming, inclusive environment for all girls. I think this is a summary about yes. And then the second, please. Perfect. Here you can see the challenges for girls in sports, Muslim girls, but also all girls. And fifth, I want to talk with you about this because it's very important. Are you there? Fifth? No?
Sorry, I've unmuted. Sorry, I was muted. Yes, I'm here.
Fifth, this is a very important, these are the 5 challenges for girls in sports, of course, not only Muslim girls. So that's the reason that I want to ask you to tell more about this.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of this, thank you, Huda, a lot of these challenges are highlighted in the Nike Girls Coaching Guide. Particularly, the ones that stand out for me are missing female positive role models. It's one of the great indicators to girls if they have the role models and people to look up to. Environment and limited resources, absolutely, we've talked about that. Limited resources in some countries, definitely, but having the right environment. And that, what I mean by environment is not just the physical environment, it's the environment the coach creates. So do you greet people as they arrive with a smile and a welcome? So the environment's really important. We had a great question about attitudes. So fear of discrimination and negative attitudes, it's still up there as one of the major ones. Although fear of discrimination, I think, is starting to minimize somewhat because really we are seeing a lot more of high-level sport in social arena. And therefore, attitudes towards the ability of women are changing. Cultural misinterpretations, we all know about those, but it's lack of awareness and the importance of advocacy so we overcome those barriers that are preventing girls from coming and staying in sport. And family expectations in some parts of the world still remains a really big issue. And it's that the importance of engagement with parents, caregivers, and community is a really important part of trying to get girls coming in. So I agree with all of them. They're all still challenges. We all know they're there, but hopefully, you know, we have some strategies to help us overcome them.
Yes, thank you so much for the summary. Thank you so much, Viv, and everyone. Can we go please to the next slide, because it's time, and I want to show this as a reminder. All these resources are available online in different languages, so you can go online and see everything you need and you want. And then the last slide, please. And that's, of course, we have time for questions. So if you have any questions, please share it with us. yeah, it's a very, very great group. I'm very happy with today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much to you, Huda. What an inspiring story you shared with us. I'm sure I wasn't the only one that was really moved by the video at the start. It's incredible what you have achieved and how you've really paved the way for other Muslim girls to participate in sport and physical activity. So thank you so much for sharing with us. I can see we do have a question here from Noof, who has asked, how do you support athletes to be part of competitions and compete while wearing the hijab?
Thank you for your question. First of all, I think they need to want to do that, because of course some girl want only to be active in the gym and don't want to play matches. So if she really wants it, then you can say to her, oh, you are doing very good, and let me try to help you to train like a little bit more, because of course when you need to go to a match you need to train more. And then you can talk with the parents if it's okay for them that she plays games, because for my mother it was always, oh my God, I don't want that you gonna play a game. It's, are you mad? And she was mad. And my father was like, okay, I think for a girl it's good to defend herself. So and for me, my coach was very important because he gives me a lot of trust and a lot of support to do that. This, I think, Noof, I think you are a very great coach, and if you are support her and give her the trust and give her the safe environment, and she wants also to play games, then she can play game. For a hijab thing, before, when I played games, there was not a Nike hijab, so it was not nice to play with the hijab because I need to do tape and everything. And now with this, it's so easy. And even we don't. When you talk with the organization, we don't need to have short trouser or short, because when I ask that to them, they say, okay, you can wear a trouser and you can wear a long shirt if that's important for the girl. So I think there are all opportunities, and you can always text with me on Instagram if she need to talk with me or something.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Huda. Any other questions coming in? I know that we have gone over time, but I don't want to have anyone miss out the opportunity. If no other questions are coming in, given the time, I think that we will officially come to the closing now. Huda, I just want to say a huge heartfelt thank you for joining us today and for sharing your story and your experiences. It's so motivating, and I'm sure that the participants that are here today have really learned a lot. And just with the Coaching Girls Guide, we will also be distributing the Hijab Product Playbook to all participants. So you will receive that following the workshop. So thank you to Huda, thank you to Viv, thank you to Shaima, to Catherine, and a huge thank you to all of the participants for your really enthusiastic engagement today. On behalf of TAFISA, this kickoff workshop couldn't have gone better, and it's been a real pleasure to share this space with you over the last couple of hours. I would like to say a huge thank you to Nike Made to Play and the Saudi Sports for All Federation for your co-organisation and partnership on today's workshop. It's been a fantastic first workshop of the series. All participants will be receiving a very short questionnaire, a short feedback survey following the session, and we would really appreciate you taking just 2-3 minutes. I can see the link has now been posted in the chat, and we will also be sending the link via email. but we would really appreciate you taking a couple of minutes to provide us with feedback on how you've felt the workshop has gone today, as this will help us improve our workshops in the future. You will also receive a certificate of participation, as well as the resources that were discussed today. So a huge thank you to everyone. Please stay tuned for further opportunities and to stay connected to the global alumnus of Made to Play Coaching Girls Guide workshop participants that we will be creating. So thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon.